Good afternoon, my name is Melody, and in this video, I am going to take you with me as I spend a week in a cabin in Gettysburg. So I'm not exactly sure what we're going to get into yet. I am a member of the resort, so I come to Gettysburg fairly often. I've done a lot of the tourist attractions in town, and unfortunately the ones that I haven't done are closed for the winter yet. So we'll see what we get into. The good news is, even though it's early March, there are 3 days coming up of unseasonably warm weather, so it's going to allow me to get outside and do some things. And then before it gets cold later in the week. So if you want to see what this adventure brings, come along with me. So I have some extra time before I can check into my cabin, so let's go ahead and check out some of the most popular spots around Gettysburg. This is Sachs Bridge. This location is said to be haunted due to the casualties sustained here. I'm not one that's into ghost tours, so I'll let somebody else tell me if that's true. Now we are at Little Round Top. This location was closed for renovation and just reopened to the public about a year ago. This is one of my favorite areas to see a vantage point of the entire battlefield. So let's go ahead and crawl around some rocks. I don't know if you can see it, but in the center of the screen, you can still see snow on the mountains. That's Liberty Mountain Ski Resort. You know, there's a lot of rocks when they just don't remove the rocks and just put it in the middle of the sidewalk. I do apologize if you hear the wind. It has gotten crazy windy up here at Little Round Top. Let's take the stairs up to the top of this and see what we can see. Looks like we're up in a castle now. But nice vantage point up here. Just to give you all a laugh, this is the wind condition up here. Should have had my hat out of my suitcase, but I don't, so we're gonna deal with it. This is the State of Pennsylvania monument. So you can climb stairs up to the top of the Pennsylvania monument. This is the view from up there. The last stop before I go check into my cabin is Longstreet Observation Tower. So let's go ahead, climb up to the top and see what we can see. All right, I got checked into my cabin, so let's go head over to the cabin and I will give you guys a tour before I unload my car. These campers you see here are winter seasonal campers, so they're here pretty much all winter. And you can see some of the cabins coming up here. I'm going to park over here in my parking spot and give you a tour first. So this is the Davis cabin. All of the cabins are named after generals that fought here in Gettysburg. So it has a decent front porch, has a couple chairs out front, a picnic table, and a gas grill, which I'll be using a good bit this week because it's going to be so nice. And has a fire pit out here. I did order some firewood to be delivered to my cabin since it's going to be so nice. We will be having a campfire at some point this week. All right, so this is really just like a two-person cabin. You come in, it's the main area here, so this is like the kitchen. There is a table for 4 people. And then it has a refrigerator, the sink, 2-burner stove, the cabinets, a microwave, just the basic pots and pans are in here. And then we have a couch and a TV. And then there is a bathroom. So it has just like a normal shower, a sink, and then the toilet. And then in the bedroom, it has just like a full-size bed, windows above the bed and to the side. It has a dresser, and then some extra space here where you can put your suitcase. All right, now that I gave you a quick tour of the cabin, let me go ahead and get unloaded and situated in the cabin for the week. Good morning from sunny Pennsylvania. You don't know how happy that makes me. It has literally been cloudy for like the last week here in Pennsylvania, so super excited. There are no clouds in the sky today, so it's a great day to get out and do an adventure. So one of the things that I love to do is to visit Pennsylvania state parks, and I'm in the process of trying to visit all Pennsylvania state parks. So in Pennsylvania, we actually have a passport book just like the National Park passport book. And when you visit parks, you can go and get stamps or stickers for each of the parks. So today, the plan is to try to go visit 3 smaller parks, basically like hiking and picnicking type parks, and so we can check off a few more parks. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. All right, we are arriving at our first stop. We are at Susquehanna Riverlands State Park. All right, I've made it to the parking lot at Susquehanna Riverlands State Park. Unfortunately, there are no passport stamps here at the little bulletin board, but it does say that they may be available at another park that I'm going to go to later today, so hopefully I can pick up one there. So what we're going to do here is there's actually an overlook trail. According to All Trails, it says it's 1.3 miles round trip, so not too bad at all. Looks like it's going to be generally flat. We're already up on top of kind of like a hill area, so let's go and do this trail and see what the view is like at the end. So I noticed as I was driving in the mile or so long road to get to this parking area that there appears to be a lot of storm damage in this area up here. Not exactly sure when this happened, but you're going to see a lot of blown down trees here. The other interesting thing about this trail so far is that you're pretty much just going through a farmer's field or right beside the field on a lot of this. You can see it's a little muddy too this time of year, but not too bad yet. All right, I'm back from the hike. So 1.3 miles is an accurate distance for that hike. It's a relatively easy hike, so most anybody can do it. It was a little muddy today at places, but not too bad. Glad I did wear my hiking boots though. So a quick overview of Susquehanna Riverlands State Park. So it's very small, kind of sits up on top of a ridge or a hill here. There are no like normal bathrooms here, just a couple porta-johns that I saw coming in. And really the only thing there is to do is to hike out to that overlook. So definitely a good view, but like I said, not a lot to do here. All right, let's head to our next destination. All right, I have arrived at my second destination. I am currently at Samuel S. Lewis State Park. So this is also another very small park, but before I tell you a little bit about this, I just learned something about the Susquehanna Riverlands Park that I was just at. So actually that is one of the new state parks here in Pennsylvania. So it actually was not in my passport book, but I do now have a stamp for that. So I was able to acquire the 3 stamps of the parks that I'll be going to today, so that's exciting. I'll be able to put those in my book. So yeah, I'm at Samuel S. Lewis State Park. Very small, also sits up on a hill. I'm currently up on top and there's a beautiful view of the river down below. And then, like I said, not a lot to do here. There is a disc golf course though, in an area that's designated for kite flying. So, and then there are just a few trails, but nothing too significant here. But I did stop at Rutter's on the way and I picked up my lunch, so I'm gonna sit here at this picnic table and enjoy the sunshine. This is the view from up on the hilltop at Samuel S. Adams State Park. You can really, even though it doesn't seem to be that high up here, you can really see for a long way. Down on this side, try to zoom in and show you the farmland down here. So we're coming up on Pinnacle Overlook here. I'm coming up on a second overlook. This one is Whistler Overlook. Alright, so now that I've made it to the second overlook, I'm going to finish off today's video here. So yeah, this is actually a pretty decent state park as well. It does sit up on top. Seems to be a good many hiking trails that it would be relatively flat, kind of like up on top of the ridge. And then there's these couple overlooks here. So another good find. So with that being said, it's been a fantastic day today. As you can see, the sun is out. It is about 72 degrees right now, a little breezy, but it's just been great to get out, do a little bit of hiking today, and check 3 more state parks off my bucket list. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. Well, here we are again, and as you can see, the sun is shining again today, so that's great. It's also supposed to get up to around 80 later today. So today I am in Westminster, Maryland, visiting the Carroll County Farm Museum. So you might be able to tell behind me there's going to be a whole bunch of like old buildings that you can go and walk around and see what life was like back in the day. So if you're ready to see what awaits us, let's go. This here is a horse-drawn hearse. You can see on the side it has a glass, like where you could see the casket inside. This red buggy is a florist wagon. This wagon right here was a postal wagon. This is called a Hoff log barn. And this was used to house cows, calves, and horses. This is the barnyard here. Little tool shed in here. The goats all came out to say hi. They must think I have food. Here we have some chickens. Here is another barn. Here is a grape arbor. Bring you over here. This is actually just one stalk. You can see how big, how thick it is. And it covers this whole trellis. Here is a spring house. You can hear the water running in there. A whole bunch of like crocks in there to gather water. I'm on the porch of the farmhouse right now. This is an old sled. This is a Husker shredder machine. This is something I've never seen before, but it was used to husk the corn. Here are a bunch of examples. These ones are made out of metal. The ones up here are made out of wood. And then there's some over here made out of antlers. Here is the blacksmith. And then down here, it says it's an original ice house entrance. This is inside the blacksmith. You can see all of their tools, forges, vices, anvils. And then here's like a whole bunch of stuff hanging up that they made here in the blacksmith. Have a good old dinner bell here. Here are some more pieces. These are pretty neat down here underneath the glass, like some spiral metal pieces. Here's a candle holder. And another kind of candle holder right there. Here are some horseshoes. I'm inside another barn. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, like tools that they would have used back in the day. This section over here is dedicated to butter making. So we have like cream separators, a milk strainer and cooling, stuff for milking. We have butter churns up here in the corner. Something called a butter worker. Butter paddles. Here's dairy. So we have the cow. A cart to carry the milk. Here is stuff for butchering. Hog scrapers and meat hooks. Here's a neat thing that shows you where the different parts of the pig come from. Here's some presses. Old cook stove. Big old barrel. Oh, this was for apple butter. Okay, cooking the apple butter. Check out this stove back here that the kettle would sit on. Some apple pickers. Primitive apple peelers. And here is an apple parer, where I guess they would sit to pare apples. Here are some fruit dryers to make snits. An apple grater. Here is the carpentry shop. Here is a lathe. Here we have a general store. Let's check out what's inside. Old potbelly stove. Pantry stuff over here. And here it tells you how much it would have cost for certain items back in 1890. So this brick building here is actually the smokehouse. It's very interesting to me. I've never actually seen a brick smokehouse before. I'm always accustomed to wood. And then inside here you can see this is how they hung the meat to smoke. And you can see it has been used because it's charred inside the bricks here. And then I believe down here there's like a little trough, and I believe that's where they would have had the fire. This is the gardening room. On the table we have some different kinds of nuts. We have seeds, some gardening tools. Over here we have stuff with bees. In the corner over there we have herbs hanging up to dry. Some more garden tools on the floor. This room is called the veterinary surgeon. This room is the almshouse room, so it's just showing you what a dormitory style room would have looked like. This room is a rotating exhibit. Currently it is the quilt room.
My favorite quilt design is actually the design I did here. I would love to do this quilt instead bigger. It was really fun to make because you can do this swirl and you can also combine lots of colors. My favorite quilt design is probably this one. I like how there's like the color down blue and is different around the edge and the back. My favorite quilt design is just the square one. It's like the patterns, five dots,
I guess with the memories of quilting, it goes back again to my mother and even my grandmother quilting with whatever they had around.
This is the weaving room. Have the spinning wheel, loom, and over here some more spinning wheels. We have a cabinet back in the corner with the thread. And here looks like some examples of stuff that has been made on the loom. Some wool down here on the floor in these baskets. This is the quilting room. Some old sewing machines over here. And in this display, there's a bunch of old feed sacks that they used to use to make quilts. Underneath the general store is a root cellar where it's a cool room that they would have put their crops in to keep them cool. In here, it is showing how they would make a chair. And then over here, they're actually, I guess, making brooms. And here we have the old bakery. So they would bake bread and other things in here for everybody living on the property. Old iron. And over here we have an old washing machine. Here we have an old summer kitchen. Back here in the back is a big dry sink. And the big fireplace used to cook their food. This contraption here is a shingle mill, so I guess it was used to cut shingles. Here we have a Taylor steam engine. I believe these machines here are all threshing machines. This is the farmhouse building. I was able to get a guided tour inside of that, but I did not film inside there, so I will insert some pictures from that tour right now. Here is a historic schoolhouse. So over here we would have the front of the classroom with the chalkboard and where the teacher would sit, some old desks, and then we just have some benches here and a fireplace in the back of the room. These are called huckster's wagons, and they were used to haul local butter, eggs, and poultry to Baltimore. And then when they came home, they would bring fresh fruit, molasses, and sugar back with them. Check out these cool old sleds. Here we have tools used for harvesting ice. So we have an ice plow, some ice saws there in the back, and then like tongs that they would pick up the ice with, and then like the wagon that they would put the ice on to haul it to their ice houses. Wow, that was absolutely incredible. I had such a great time exploring this farm museum area and all these little buildings. Every time I thought I was done, I would find some other hidden gem here. I really enjoy going to see the living history type exhibits and that kind of thing, just seeing what life was like long ago and the tools that they used and that kind of thing. So, and I'll see you soon. Good morning. Today's adventure is taking me to Buchanan's Birthplace State Park. Once again, this is a very small state park. Basically, all it is here is a monument, which I'll show you shortly, some places to have a picnic, and there is a stream that flows through here where you can do some fishing. So let's go check out what we got. Here is a view of the stream that's running through this park. And then down here there's a picnic pavilion. Here is some signage about this area and President James Buchanan. Here's a map of the park. Like I said, not very much here. There's actually 2 pavilions and the monument and the stream that flows by. It is about 15 miles from Cohen's Gap if you're familiar with that area. So this pyramidal monument is 38 feet square and 31 feet high, constructed of native stone and weighs 300 tons, including 50 tons of hammered American gray granite for the tablet, bench, and capstone. So this is a little hard to read, but it says, "This monument marks the birthplace of James Buchanan, 15th President of the United States, born 23 April 1791, died 1 June 1868. Good afternoon. Today we are at Hershey Gardens. You can see it's a little breezy out here. So there probably won't be a ton of flowers in bloom here yet, but we're going to go check it out. Let's see what we can find. So I am inside the butterfly house right now. We'll see what we can see. This is an atlas moth. Here are some dead butterflies that you can actually touch and check out the wings. Here is a Luna moth. We actually saw one of these last summer when we were camping and they were mating. So it was really interesting. Now I'm outside at the gardens. Even though there won't be a lot to see out here, there is a mile-long trail that I'll walk and just see what we can find. There's some little fish in this pond in the children's garden area. Here's an area in the children's garden. I'm fascinated by this ball back here. Here is a touch wall for kids. This is a really unique looking tree. It says it's the American sycamore tree. Here is a tree that people have carved in over the years, but now they have it so you can't get close to it. So that's going to wrap up the tour at Hershey Gardens. There definitely was not a lot to see outside here, but that's okay. I got some exercise in, so that we'll call that a win. It's definitely getting chilly with this breeze out here. My ears are getting cold, so it's time to go get inside my vehicle and get warmed back up. All right, see you soon.